Hey, welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. It feels like spring, so we're going to start on some regular spring routine tasks. Come along. All right, well, my leeks are growing well, and these will carry us through the spring as well. I think that's the biggest one right there. What I need to do is get these weeds out of here and mulch. Now that they're big enough, if you saw when I put them in, they were like little tiny blades of grass almost, but they've bulked up big enough now where we can mulch them and suppress these weeds, and it'll also help blanch the stalks, which is what you want with leeks. So let's get to work. Now we could just mulch right over these weeds, but I want to at least get the majority of them out. Weeding. You know it's spring when all these shamrock looking things, these are oxalis family plants. Look at that. They've got a taproot on them, like a carrot. That's strange. And they will compete with your leeks. Onion family plants don't like competition. There's another one of those taproots. They don't like competition from the weeds. So I'm going to try to at least get some of this knocked down so I can at least see what I'm doing when I put my mulch down. Yeah, these have a carrot-like taproot. Interesting. Look at that. It's like a carrot. Yeah. The routines of the spring garden, especially weeding. You have to stay on top of weeding and control these weeds. I'm just taking the greenery off. The roots will be underneath that mulch we're about to lay down. That'll suppress them from coming back. A few other kind of weeds in here. Yeah, now we can see what we're doing. Let's throw some mulch down. I'm going to use just a hardwood mulch. I like hardwood mulch. It's my favorite. Tends to last me a good long while. Sometimes I can get a whole year out of this stuff. All right, really easy. Just going to lay it down in between my rows and smother these weeds here. And I'm going to lay it up against the stalk of the leeks pretty high. Tedious process here, but it'll pay off. I like my mulch to be really thick, about 2 to 3 inches thick. That will help your weed suppression. The weather guys around here are saying that we're probably not going to get any more frost. Next week is our average last frost date, actually a little over a week. And there was a threat of another front coming through, but I think we're beyond that. However, it seems to me that the new norm around here is that we can get some freezes well into March. And I'm not going to, I'm tempted to wait a few weeks before I put my plants out, at least the important ones that I want, to ensure that they don't get zapped and whacked by the frost. I'm tempted, but it's 80 degrees today. I'm tempted to just start gardening now and risk it. What would you do? Mulch will feed the soil as it breaks down. It will insulate your soil and keep the soil temperatures around those roots from fluctuating as much as when you have bare soil. So it's a good idea to use mulch whenever and wherever you can. No one will be seated during the thrilling applying mulch scene. This is the part of gardening that I don't like. but it's very necessary to control weeds, so it pays. Do these routine gardening tasks and you won't be sorry. You know, it might not be a pleasant thing. Some people like it. I don't. I like planting seeds. I like seeing them grow. But I'm not a big fan of actually doing those mundane tasks like weeding and mulching. But once it's done, like now, yeah, I'm glad I did it. Okay, on to something more fun. I have this raised bed here that has grown for me herbs, sweet potatoes, and onions. I'm going to take this little section that I have here and I'm going to plant some pollinator attracting flowers. I have this called beneficial insect attractant mix from Johnny's Select Seeds, and we're going to plant this along with some bee feed mix. This mix of seeds has dozens of different kinds of flowers in it that attract bees and beneficial insects. This one has alyssum, asters, baby blue eyes, bergamot, coreopsis, echinacea, flax, fleabane daisy, and on and on. It's got all kinds of good stuff. This one has more variety to it, but there's a lot of crossover. But we're just going to mix these in and plant them right into this loose soil. This is perfect for the way you plant these kind of wildflower seeds. We're going to broadcast them. It says to broadcast these seeds in this area and then rake them in. Hopefully you get them about 1/4 of an inch deep max. And that's what we're going to do. Let me show you how easy this is. And hopefully we'll get us a nice tall stand of wildflowers or all these different flowers here. Let me get you closer so you can see this is pretty loose stuff. It's actually a whole bunch of different kind of potting soils that I dumped in here on top of a hugelkultur base, which means there's sticks and logs and stuff down at the bottom. And it's grown pretty well for me. So all of this soil in here is essentially recycled potting soil. After all, this is just a big pot. So we're going to take our seeds. There's not a lot in there, but we're just going to sprinkle them around. And we're going to take this packet, got a lot in here, and we're going to sprinkle these around as well. I want to get some good coverage here. We might have to thin some. We might not have to. I'm going to even put some down here where my herbs are, because by the time these come out, these flowers will hopefully be established. But now it says we need to rake it in. So we'll just take our rake and very lightly just rake it in. Try to spread it around a bit so it's not too deep. Some of this is going to be too deep. Some of it's not. And we'll tamp it in. Get those seeds in contact with the soil. And we'll water it in. We got to keep this really well watered because this soil drains so efficiently that I'm going to have to be out here watering this every day until these flowers come up. Hopefully, this will bring in all kinds of good insects to help pollinate my fruit trees, pollinate the flowers that we need pollinated. Hopefully it'll bring in beneficial insects that will be predators of the insects we don't want. When you have a vegetable garden, it's always a good idea to plant flowers as well. Traditionally, and you could do it this way, I would just go down to the big box store and buy the cheapest flower starts that they had, you know, for your garden, and just put those in my cinder block holes. That works, but this is cheaper, and I just like growing flowers. Another thing you got to do if you grow these potted trees is keep the weeds down. I got a good mat here, most of it's chickweed, and what I'll do is I'll just pull out, like we did in the leeks, I'll just pull out the majority of the greenery and break it off This citrus soil is very, very light and fluffy, so you don't want to pull too hard or you will pull that soil up and disturb the roots of this beautiful blood orange. But what I'll do after I get these weeds off of here is I'll put some mulch on top of it and suppress the next round of weeds. There wasn't much mulch on here, and you see this is what happens with these. Even with mulch, the mulch breaks down and then you start getting these weeds growing in here. So we got to deal with that. Especially with citrus. Citrus roots are very close to the surface. You can see some roots right here. Need to get those covered. But I want to get the majority of this greenery out of here. I suppose you could mulch right on top of it and just kill it and let it feed the soil. But I like to get a look at what I'm doing here. There we go. Just a little bit of routine maintenance. And that'll go a long way to giving you a good harvest of these beautiful fruits. This is a very fine ground wood product. And I'm just going to drop this in here and we're going to smother these weeds. There we go. Like new. Like new. All right, let's have an update of what's going on in the garden. There's my 2 new lime trees. I'm going to have a video on how to pot a citrus tree and successfully grow them in pots like those. And I have had great success growing citrus, but I don't have any lime trees until now. So we got our turnips coming up there. Cauliflower starting to put on a little bit of a floret down in the middle there. Radishes coming up, gonna have to thin those a little bit. Carrots doing okay down here. These are the survivors of the big freeze. That's why it's so sparse and you can't, doesn't look like there's any order to it at all. But it's what happens when it freezes. We have the leeks we just messed with and got some space for spring gardening opening up when these cabbages are harvested. These cabbages are starting to form a little bit of a head down in there. Same thing over there. I've got cabbages with a little bit of a head. Got some more leeks plugged in. My broccolini went to seed. I left that for the bees to have all those flowers. Need to cut the grass. Started pruning my muscadines. Got all the big stuff off. It's really a mess over here. But man, these vines, they're incredible how far they grow in 1 year. So this is called a rough prune or a coarse prune, and I'll come back through and do the fine work where we take these growing spurs down to you know, one little bud. Nice. Herbs are starting to take off a bit. Got that planted. Yeah, we lost a lot of those fig trees, so we're gonna reuse those pots. I've got one fig tree, actually my favorite one, is starting to come back from the freeze and break bud. But others like this guy here, probably dead as a doornail, but we probably get something back from those roots. But yeah, changing my thinking about figs. The free fertilizer, this is a green manure. It's a Mexican sunflower, Tithonia diversifolia. It's doing well. It's starting to come out again. Yeah, this encourages me. This is my apple tree, and you can see there, these blossoms were in fact pollinated, and we're getting some fruit. This is its 3rd year, and we have fruit. Now I noticed that there are some smaller ones, like this one, and some larger ones. I hand pollinated these, and these I didn't hand pollinate these. So I'm wondering, I know apples will give fruit even without pollination. Sometimes they're just smaller, they don't have any seeds. I wonder if that's what's happening here. Well, we'll see. Encouraging. Now, this is an Anna variety. This one here hasn't woke up yet. So that's a late variety. But my early varieties, my 3 early varieties are all well awake, putting on new growth. Yeah, encouraging. Got some future apples right there. This one is a golden Dorset. That's the classic pair with the Anna. But over here I have the 3rd cross-pollinator of early varieties. This is Shell of Alabama, and it's got some fruit on it too. And that's encouraging to me. I'm so excited about my apples. Another routine that we have to do with fruit trees is keep them mulched. You want to suppress growth like that. That's after 1 year, and you can see how much I enjoy mulching my fruit trees. I did a video on this. Oh, it's been many weeks, and you can see how far I've progressed. Yeah, everything is staged, ready to mulch. I just hadn't done it yet, but that's got to be done. That's one of those routines that if you have a fruit tree, you want to keep the competition from the lawn suppressed by a thick layer of mulch like that. My apricot tree, isn't it beautiful? This is a tropic gold variety apricot. It's one of the few apricots that's supposed to thrive in the warmer climates. So that's looking good. How you doing, Phoebe? It's hot today, isn't it? Phoebe is our employee of the month for this month, as usual. Big girl. You ready to go inside? Whew, I'm kind of tired. Routine work in the garden. Some people love it. I don't like it that much. And sometimes that's why my garden looks the way it does and gets kind of weedy. Yeah, with this warm spell, the weeds in the lawn have really sprouted up. I gotta get out here with the mower, tidy things up. I usually like my yard to look a little better than this when I do a video, but hey, you know, it's reality. Well, thank you for joining me today in the garden. Hope you are having happy gardening, and stick around. Subscribe if you find our content useful. We're going to have some good how-tos coming up. We're going to show you how to plant and grow a citrus tree in a pot. Going to show you how to transplant tomatoes and peppers and all that. We're going to direct sow some seeds. We're going to direct sow some beans and make a bean pole or a bean trellis for some pole beans. Yeah, we're going to do a lot of good gardening. So thanks for joining us today. Happy gardening to you. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.